say that 4 men arrested for a jewelry store robbery over the weekend could be part of a crew that's linked to robberies up and down the state.
We're learning more tonight about a triple at a Modesto home over the weekend. We now know a fourth person was at the home during the shootings and managed to hide in a closet as those shots rang out. This is the first time we're seeing pictures of the victims: 31-year-old Edward Reinig, 19-year-old Alexandria Tellez, and 16-year-old David Siebels.
The investigation, dubbed Operation Red Desert, started last year when investigators say they started to see an uptick in violence. They discovered a connection with the Nuestra Familia prison gang and the Norteños street gang. Officials say local street gang members were carrying out the orders of high-ranking prison gang members.
Brutally beaten last month, a homeless man dies weeks later. And investigators say these suspected gang members are the attackers. Detectives say Matthew Arguello and Ruben Rosales confronted Jace Decker August 10th, believing the 63-year-old was a registered sex offender. Detectives say Decker was not.
May be hard to watch. The first robbery happened the day after Christmas. Police say 2 people were assaulted.
And the greater Stanislaus County corridor sit at a crossroads of California gang culture, where Norteño and Sureño rivalries, prison-based influence from the Nuestra Familia, and newer street crews like the Valley Boys, Crips all collide with small city geography. Over the past decade, that mix has produced everything from wiretap-driven takedowns and multi-agency raids to sudden, targeted violence on neighborhood streets. Operation Red Desert showed what a coordinated crackdown can uncover: guns, cash, narcotics, and alleged plots to kidnap and delete, while other cases reveal how fast violence can surge. A court day ambush of suspects in a triple M deletion probe, a fatal park beating sparked by bad information, an early morning stabbing outside a liquor store, and a smash and grab crew ramming a car through a jewelry storefront and flooding the floor with 20 masked thieves in under 90 seconds. Threaded through these stories are the same pressure points: rivalries that simmer for years, crews that use surveillance blind spots and caravans of cars to strike and disappear, and investigators who now lean heavily on license plate readers, poll cameras, social media, and wiretaps to map networks in real time. What follows is a clear-eyed look at Modesto area gang cases: how they're built, how they explode, and how they reverberate through families, neighborhoods, and the courts.
38 people arrested and 21 guns seized.
Those are the results of a multi-agency gang investigation involving Modesto Police, the CHP, and the Department of Justice. Now, we first told you about the bust yesterday. The investigation, dubbed Operation Red Desert, started last year when investigators say they started to see an uptick in violence. They discovered a connection with the Nuestra Familia prison gang and the Norteño street gang. Officials say local street gang members were carrying out the orders of high-ranking prison gang members.
Operation Red Desert was a 6-month, multi-agency crackdown targeting Norteños Nuestra Familia crews across Stanislaus and San Joaquin counties. It launched in February 2019 and culminated in July. Authorities reported 28 arrests, the seizure of 21 firearms, and $15,950 in cash. Charges included conspiracy to commit deletion, kidnapping, robbery, attempted deletion, and a range of drug and gun offenses, along with gang enhancements. Officials also said the operation disrupted a planned deletion and a home invasion robbery. Local outlets later noted the arrest tally climbed to 38 as additional suspects were booked during warrant service. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Police have arrested 5 people accused in 2 violent robberies they believe are connected. The first robbery happened the day after Christmas. Police say 2 people were assaulted. The men were armed, took cash and backpacks. One person's now in the hospital with major injuries. Second robbery happened at a gas station yesterday morning. That victim also in the hospital with major injuries.
Modesto police say 5 suspected Norteño gang members were arrested on suspicion of organizing a crew to carry out armed home invasion robberies in the Modesto area. Detectives reported recovering loaded handguns, masks, and gloves during the takedown, and emphasized the investigation is still in its early stages. The adults were identified as Jesus Regalado, Edgar Mendez, Edgar Garcia and Nestor Garcia. A 16-year-old was also taken into custody. All 5 face counts of conspiracy to commit residential robbery and criminal street gang activity. According to investigators, the group was allegedly coordinating roles and scouting potential locations. Detectives are processing the seized firearms and other evidence and are working to determine whether the suspects may be connected to additional crimes in Stanislaus County or nearby jurisdictions.
Brutally beaten last month, a homeless man dies weeks later. And investigators say these suspected gang members are the attackers. Detectives say Matthew Arguello and Ruben Rosales confronted Jace Decker August 10th, believing the 63-year-old was a registered sex offender. Detectives say Decker was not. Investigators say during the attack, Decker pleaded with the suspects to stop. Instead, they beat him until he was unconscious. They add the attack was unprovoked and gang motivated. Arguello is now in custody, but investigators say Rosales is a dangerous man and is on the run. The community here says Decker mostly kept to himself.
Modesto police say 2 men beat Jace Decker unconscious at Garrison Park on August 10, 2019, after mistakenly believing he was a registered sex offender. Investigators described the assault as unprovoked and gang motivated, noting the assailants used only their hands and feet. Decker never regained consciousness and died weeks later. Police confirmed he was not a sex offender. Detectives identified the suspects as Matthew Arguello and Ruben Rosales. Arguello was arrested on August 17, 2019. Rosales later surrendered on September 6, 2019. Days after that, a third suspect, Samuel Cervantes, was taken into custody at the Elliott Alternative Education Center. All 3 were booked on deletion as the investigation continued into each person's role and potential gang enhancements. Friends said Decker was a quiet regular at the park coping with the loss of his wife, a case that underscores the danger of vigilante violence and bad information. All defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court.
Police say that 4 men arrested for a jewelry store robbery over the weekend could be part of a crew that's linked to robberies up and down the state. Police say that the suspects crashed a car into the front of the Side Jewelers on Standiford Avenue about 6:30 last night, and then several suspects jumped into the store, grabbing a large amount of jewelry before they drove off in different vehicles. The city's license plate reader cameras spotted one of those vehicles as stolen. Alerted officers, they stopped the suspects, and Nasir Blocker, Antron Crawford, Gangster Lawson, and Nehemiah Miller are all now facing a long list of charges.
Turlock police say a 28-year-old man was fatally stabbed Friday morning in what appears to be a targeted act of gang violence. The attack, captured on surveillance video, unfolded near Lander and Bernal Avenues. Footage shows the victim standing with several men outside a liquor store in the 900 block of Lander Avenue when a black 2003 GMC Yukon pulled up and 3 adult Hispanic males got out. An argument quickly escalated. The victim ran across Lander Avenue with 2 suspects chasing him, and one attacker caught up and stabbed him at least once in the upper body. Officers arrived to find the man, described as Hispanic with life-threatening wounds. He received immediate aid and was rushed to a local hospital where he died. Investigators broadcast the suspect vehicle, which was spotted within 3 hours in the 600 block of Vermont Street. The driver, Manuel Maldonado of Turlock, was detained, interviewed, and booked into Stanislaus County Jail on a deletion charge. Detectives said preliminary information indicates the crime was likely gang-motivated and not random. Police Chief Jason Hedden vowed an aggressive pursuit of the remaining suspects and offered condolences to the victim's family. Records show Maldonado has a prior history in gang-related cases. In 2011, he was arrested after a SWAT-assisted standoff tied to an attempted deletion investigation, later accepting a plea deal and serving a short sentence. In 2020, he was arrested again during a large Norteño gang sweep linked to a rural home invasion robbery that netted guns, cash, and narcotics. Authorities ask anyone with information or video from the area to come forward as the investigation continues. Detectives say they have arrested 3 suspects in connection to an apparent gang-related shooting that left a 14-year-old girl dead in Modesto last month. The shooting happened early in the morning back on December 26, 2020. Modesto police say officers responded to the intersection of South Martin Luther King Drive and Oak Street to investigate a reported shooting and crash. 4 young people were inside the car that crashed: an 11, 14, and 18-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy. The 14-year-old girl died at the scene, police say. 2 other occupants were also taken to the hospital for treatment of gunshot wounds. Investigators believe the group was driving down Oak Street when they came to a dead end. As they were turning around, police say some people who were loitering outside a home in the area started shooting at the car as it passed by. Detectives say the suspects kept shooting at the car even after it crashed. It appears the shooting was motivated by and involved either members or associates of the Valley Boys Crip criminal street gang, detectives say. On Monday, police announced that 3 suspects had been arrested in connection to the shooting. 21-year-old Damon "Demon" Morrison, 24-year-old Angelo Keogh, and a 16-year-old boy. All 3 are facing charges of deletion and attempted deletion.
And a months-long investigation into the Norteños street gang led to 23 arrests in Stanislaus County. It started with a home invasion in March. By the time the investigation ended, not only had the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office made those 23 arrests, but they also seized 18 guns and nearly $20,000 in cash.
A months-long investigation that began with the March 17, 2020 home invasion in unincorporated Turlock led to 23 arrests and the seizure of cash, drugs, and guns, authorities said. Detectives identified Adrian Ortiz as a suspect early on and, with a court's authorization, tapped his phone and others believed to be involved. During the wiretap, investigators say they intercepted plans for drug deals, learned the locations of suspected drug houses, and heard discussions about taxing gang members and even local business owners the group claimed belonged to them. The case grew into a coordinated operation with search warrants served at 17 locations. In the most recent phase, completed in December 2020, teams recovered 18 firearms, more than $19,000 in cash, about 2 pounds, 786 plants, over 19 pounds of processed Mary, 4.8 grams of white, and nearly 300 pills. Detectives said the trove reflected both retail and wholesale activity and offered a rare inside view of how the crew generated money and enforced control. 2 suspected Norteño gang members have been arrested in connection with an October 28, 2020 assault at Parklawn Park in unincorporated South Modesto that left a man unconscious and hospitalized, according to the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office. Detectives arrested Daniel Avina of Modesto and Erick Roca of Sureños and booked them into the Stanislaus County Public Safety Center on charges of felony assault, participation in a criminal street gang, and conspiracy. Roca also faces 4 additional counts as a felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. Investigators say several Norteño-affiliated assailants confronted 2 victims at the park. One victim managed to flee while the second was kicked in the head and torso until he lost consciousness. Both suspects were identified through multiple lineups and taken into custody at their homes after search and arrest warrants were served. The case remains active as detectives work to identify any additional participants. A Stanislaus County jury found Abel Rodriguez Jr. of Sureños guilty on March 28, 2019 of first-degree deletion and 2 counts of attempted deletion with firearm and gang enhancements for a July 4, 2009 drive-by that toured through a family barbecue in Modesto, deleting 1 person and injuring 2 others. Prosecutors said Rodriguez was both the driver and the shooter. His accomplice, Pedro Alvarez of Sureños, the front seat passenger, pleaded no contest on April 2, 2019 to aiding and abetting. According to trial evidence, Rodriguez and Alvarez drove to the gathering after hearing rivals were nearby. With his headlights off and a handgun illegally converted to fire fully automatic on his lap, Rodriguez slowed in front of the home and sprayed the crowd, striking 3 people and deleting an innocent bystander, a migrant laborer. Within minutes, deputies spotted the car and pursued it at speeds over 125 miles per hour. During the chase, the passenger threw the gun out. The car crashed soon after, and both men were arrested. Investigators recovered the weapon, found 1 shell casing in the vehicle and 12 at the scene, and a DOJ criminalist determined all 13 casings were fired from the same gun. Rodriguez also tested positive for gunshot residue. Jurors rejected a defense gang expert's paid testimony suggesting someone else pulled the trigger. Modesto police say a New Year's Day shooting on the 3,400 block of Penny Lane triggered a months-long spree that left homes riddled with bullets across southeast Modesto. In the weeks that followed, officers documented 11 additional shootings, most causing property damage, with no one inside hurt. 1 person was shot several times during a fight on February 9th but survived. A 14-year-old was arrested in that case. Detectives traced the violence to 2 feuding families with gang ties. Working with probation and parole teams, they served searches at 14 homes in Modesto, Empire, and Sureños, arresting 12 people, recovering 11 guns, and seizing drugs. Police said the coordinated sweep aimed to stop the feud before anyone else was injured. 2013, investigators say a caravan of Sureño-affiliated suspects met at a nearby park to plan retaliation against Norteños, then cruised north Modesto confronting people with gang challenges and hand signs. Around the 2,400 block of Vera Cruz Drive, the group attacked Erick Gomez, beating, stabbing, and shooting him. He later died at the hospital. A 17-year-old associated with the group, Dalia Mendoza, was also stabbed during the melee and treated. Detectives described the assault as coordinated, gang-motivated, and fueled by a long-simmering rivalry. The accused shooter, Giovanni Barocchio, initially fled. Authorities later located him in Mexico and returned him to Stanislaus County to face charges. Carranza and Jenna Saborn pleaded no contest to accessory to deletion with a gang enhancement and were sentenced soon after. In 2016, Rodriguez, Robles, and Jesse Saborn each pleaded to voluntary manslaughter with a gang enhancement and received 21 years. Lisandro Mendoza pleaded to voluntary manslaughter with a gang enhancement for 16 years. And Michael Terrell Saborn pleaded to second-degree deletion and received 16 years to life. Barocchio was later captured and charged.
All three victims lived in this house. A candlelight vigil remains out here in their memory. Now, police are following up on all leads, but they say one thing is clear: the victims were targeted. A single candlelight still burns outside the house where police say they found 3 victims with fatal gunshot wounds. Police say it was not a random crime, nor was it a suicide.
Why they were targeted, what's the motive, those are all the things that we are working on right now.
Neighbors say they were sleeping Saturday morning and didn't know what happened until they saw the patrol cars outside.
The year after 3 people were shot to death inside a southeast Modesto home, detectives arrested 6 suspects, capping an 11-month investigation that included witness protection and quiet surveillance. On February 26, 2013, officers surprised Robert Palomino and Juan Jose Mila in Stanislaus Superior Court as they exited Department 6 on an unrelated weapons matter, detaining them in a nearby room before leading them out in handcuffs. Investigators had promised the families of David that arrests would come before the March 3rd anniversary of the deletions, and they made good on that vow. Court documents tie the triple homicide to a torture case weeks earlier. On January 27, 2012, an 18-year-old woman reported being bound with tape, beaten, burned with lighters, gagged, and threatened with being forced to dig her own grave inside a Richland Avenue apartment in Sureños. Police searching the unit shared by her boyfriend Richard Garcia and his friend Armando Osegueda found drugs, a stolen TV, and about $6,500 in cash, leading to arrests for false imprisonment, assault with a deadly weapon, and later torture. Jose Osegueda Jr. was arrested on drug charges connected to the search. Although all 3 initially landed in the Stanislaus County Jail, Garcia posted a $50,000 bond on February 8. And on February 28, Armando Osegueda was released to a work alternative sentence on unrelated charges, which he never served. By early March, several key figures were back on the street. Detectives, meanwhile, had set up surveillance on the Richland Avenue complex as they continued probing the suspects and the Norteño-affiliated Empire Boys. In the early hours of March 3rd, a camera captured Armando Osegueda and an unidentified man sitting on the steps, wearing gloves and scraping small objects believed to be ammunition against the concrete and inspecting them as if altering markings. When Mila arrived, 7 minutes later, all 3 departed. Around the same time, 2 intruders entered the MC Core Road residence of the torture victim. She woke to a man in her dark room using a cell phone as a light, then heard movement toward Reinig's room, a gunshot, Reinig screamed, and several more shots. She reported hearing a startled exchange, something like, "What was that? Who's that?" followed by a door being kicked in. Hiding and calling 911. She survived. Responding officers found Siebel's face down on the downstairs sofa with 2 gunshot wounds to the back of the head. Upstairs, Reinig lay on the floor with wounds to the chest and head, and Teles was in bed with 3 gunshot wounds to the chest. Turlock police say a 28-year-old man was fatally stabbed Friday morning in what appears to be a targeted act of gang violence. The attack, captured on surveillance video, unfolded near Lander and Bernal Avenues. Footage shows the victim standing with several men outside a liquor store in the 900 block of Lander Avenue when a black 2003 GMC Yukon pulled up and 3 adult Hispanic males got out. An argument quickly escalated. The victim ran across Lander Avenue with 2 suspects chasing him, and one attacker caught up and stabbed him at least once in the upper body. Officers arrived to find the man, described as Hispanic with life-threatening wounds. He received immediate aid, and was rushed to a local hospital where he died. Investigators broadcast the suspect vehicle, which was spotted within 3 hours in the 600 block of Vermont Street. The driver, Manuel Maldonado of Turlock, was detained, interviewed, and booked into Stanislaus County Jail on a deletion charge. Detectives said preliminary information indicates the crime was likely gang-motivated and not random. Police Chief Jason Hedden vowed an aggressive pursuit of the remaining suspects and offered condolences to the victim's family. Records show Maldonado has a prior history in gang-related cases. In 2011, he was arrested after a SWAT-assisted standoff tied to an attempted deletion investigation, later accepting a plea deal and serving a short sentence. In 2020, he was arrested again during a large Norteño gang sweep linked to a rural home invasion robbery that netted guns, cash, and narcotics. Authorities ask anyone with information or video from the area to come forward as the investigation continues. Taken together, these cases chart a cycle. Crews organize, retaliations ripple, and multi-agency teams respond with long investigations, sweeping warrants, and high-risk arrests. You can see the playbook on both sides: gangs leveraging speed, numbers, and intimidation, detectives countering with tech, informants, and patient surveillance. The human cost is constant. Victims mistaken for enemies, families grieving, witnesses living in fear, and neighborhoods absorbing the trauma of gunfire, sirens, and smashed glass. If there's a through line, it's that precision policing and community cooperation matter most. Wiretaps and LPR hits may open doors, but tips, video from nearby businesses, and courageous witnesses close cases. As Modesto's crews evolve, switching cars, swapping roles, and crossing city lines, so must the response. Sustained, data-driven, and backed by prevention, reentry, and youth intervention work that cuts off the next feud before it starts. This isn't just a catalog of crimes. It's a map of pressure points and a reminder that the choices made by gangs, police, prosecutors, and the community will decide whether the cycle breaks or repeats.